say screw all that and just say, hey, if I'm going to stream to Twitch, I'm going to stream to Twitch. Well, that means that I don't have to use this extra service. I don't stream to YouTube, but also like YouTube streaming is whatever. Like I don't have, like, YouTube seems to have a purpose for my content already. Twitch has a streaming context, so that makes sense. And then I was like, well, what if I just like split these streams apart? It'd be a lot less stressful if I, even if I like start out on TikTok live and do that, you know, for the first hour of a stream and then switch over to Twitch. Maybe I get some of those people on TikTok to jump over, right? And I guess that was kind of the clincher for me. It was like, well, where do I want to build streaming? Like, I feel like streaming on Twitch is where I want to be. Like this has the cool growth potential that I want, even though it is a slog to get there. I feel like that's the place that I want to build it because there's more to work with over here that's just for streaming. Whereas if I do that on YouTube, it's like, well, YouTube, it's like, are those people following you for streaming? Or are they following you for your video uploads? It's like, I don't know that I want to. And the final thought that I had about it was that if ultimately I want to do this on Twitch and I want to build a Twitch following, if people feel like they can just follow me on TikTok and get the exact same content anyway, they're never going to make the jump. So it's sort of an overall strategy I have of like, okay, let me make, and this will probably happen more and more as I figure out all these different platforms. That's going to be where I put the content that's specific to that platform. That's the only place that you're going to get it. If it's me streaming and like crafting stuff, ultimately it's going to be on Twitch. And I'll just have one place to tell people that I am, rather than like, oh, I stream here and here and here and here and here. It's like, it's just Twitch. And then sometimes TikTok, but that's just because that audience is crazy. So yep, that's the explanation. I have a negative desire to lose any crafters from this platform 2 times for terrain builders. Well, then no worries. And speaking of that, I am building a cathedral. So, yeah, holy shit. This is my lack of giving a shit about stopping and starting one project to another in full display, because I have plenty of things I could finish. Plenty of things I could finish. But also, I like this idea, so I'm going with it. It's about 8 inches wide, about 24 inches long, and it's going to be a big one. Thank you. We'll see. First plan is just to finish the first floor, kind of like a big dungeon tile, and actually fully paint it and finish it, because I'll probably be using that, or not probably, I will use that as a reference for it in game so that I can play with it in a game fairly soon. And then it's going to be the player's home base for a little while in this town that they're going to end up in, so I'll have a few weeks worth of working on it to, hey, you know what, maybe I'll finish it by the time they're done with it. That seems fitting, because then I'll be done with it too. How are your ships coming along, or your boats? Whatever you prefer to call them. They're interchangeable in my mind. Lovely. So you said losing any terrain crafters. How many of us do you think there are? I think you know better than me. How many people are like really actively building terrain on Twitch right now? If we had to put them all in a hole in the ground, how deep would we have to dig it to use dramatic language? Wow. Well, I might need to gather a list from you then because okay, variety stream. I mean, technically, I'm a variety streamer too. You're pretty dedicated, right? You're pretty much terrain all the way through, which has to help. I think. Like I've gone back and forth on that, whether or not it's going to be. Yeah. I don't know whether it's going to help or hurt me in the long run, or whether it just doesn't matter all that much. Like I think I figure as long as I keep a through line in my streaming and my videos, that whatever's going on, I'm talking about, like, you know, strategy, the characters, running the game with whatever I'm doing, then maybe it doesn't matter so much what I'm doing. That's kind of my hope. Because, yeah, sometimes I'm painting, sometimes I'm building, sometimes I'm, like, typing and designing or whatever. So hopefully the variety nature of that doesn't make it difficult for me to grow, but we'll see. Yeah, I mean, how often you stream definitely matters, but yeah, it's a good point. I could stream the setup. I've thought about that. Definitely thought about it. Yeah, people might also be shocked at just how fast it can go. Like the bulk of it is really like the setup. I know, yeah, you really don't. You never know what's going to stick. But from the point that I have everything set up, typically actually like recording the video that I need and then getting to the process of editing is and recording voiceover and stuff is pretty fast. But assuming that I don't have to, like, I've had to do some really silly arrangements before just to get my, like, kind of dolly work to be smooth enough to actually be happy with. Which is kind of funny to be thinking about it in those terms, but yeah. I also reached out to, I don't know if anything's going to come of it necessarily, but there's a I think they have their own games. They're behind Dungeon Crawl Classics, I think. Have you heard of Goodman Games? But they have a call out right now for Twitch shows. So I reached out, see what's going on there. Could be an interesting avenue for exposure. Maybe not. So we'll see on that front. Oh shit. Okay. So yeah. I the past couple of weeks I've GM Ben has been running a session prep stream, which is very much in spirit, kind of one of the DM Jeremy. Gotcha. And their website, I think they just like they sell a lot of people's stuff. Like they're kind of like a marketplace or something like that. So it seems that's the vibe I've gotten from their site. It's kind of scattered. It's hard to tell for me, but I think that's the case. And it looks like they have a handful of shows and seem like cool people. And like I said, I've kind of dipped in on one of their guys' session prep show on Sundays. He does he didn't do it this week, but he did the past couple weeks, and I reached out to see if I was like, I don't really know how it works. They said they're looking for people to fill out a Twitch schedule, and it's like, yeah, they make some of their own stuff. I saw, yeah, Dungeon Crawl Classics and looks like a few things like they have their own D20 system. So I don't know if anything will come of it, like I said, and who knows if it even end up being a smart thing to do. But figure I'll talk to him, see what comes of it. Everything's an experiment. Kind of like, you'll appreciate this. Kind of like for me, posting on the weekend, I did put some videos up yesterday and today. And so I use Reddit. And I noticed this morning that Reddit is kind of an app enabling a video view, like specifically a watch feed. And I was like, oh shit, maybe I need to try uploading some content to Reddit. I've done it a couple times, but it was always really kind of awkward. And I was like, oh, but if they're trying to get into this, then maybe I need to feed some of my content into their system so they'll start showing it to people. Just another way to get my videos out there. So the one that I chose for the /D&D, like the big subreddit, was what I thought, like, this is one of my more innocuous, like least out there progressive ideas. And it was just the video that said from like I think a week or so back, or this last week, that was like, just players, if you're making a backstory, don't put all your awesome stuff in your backstory. Like, the table is, basically the premise of like all the awesome shit that happens to your character should happen at the table. Basic idea. I was like, let me just float this out there and see. It's got kind of a cool like cinematic that I attached to it with the minis kind of moving through these scenes. I was like, this will be a good thing. Like, the very first response I got on there, and I have to practice my Reddit voice, my Reddit guy voice, but basically it was like, hard disagree. Second comment I got was like, I completely disagree with your, and so that kept on for a while, and I was just like, man, this is such an inoffensive take. Like, what is this reaction? It just turns out like the size of that community on Reddit is so big, and like Reddit guy is a thing for sure. Like lots of analysis or people kind of looking to like, I mean, so anyway, the funny part about it was it's like, if you go to the D&D subreddit, it's like top of it right now. I've got like 4,000 upvotes today because people are like arguing with each other over a 19-second video clip that I put up. You know how short my videos are. And there are guys on there writing 400-word like essays, like in response to each other about like arguing about this topic. It's kind of hilarious. So anyway, so that kind of, I guess you could say that worked. Didn't think that would be like, ooh, let me stir some shit up on the D&D subreddit today, but that's kind of what I did. Kind of seems like what that website's for a little bit. Yeah, I'll definitely let you know what works or what. Yeah. Another thing I've been trying to, and this is the hardest thing. Like, I don't know if you ever do this. Do you ever go back and watch any of your streamed content? Because I've been trying to do that. Been trying to both isolate clips for Twitch, which I hardly do. I've done a couple of them. Like, shit, I should probably be like clipping or highlighting or whatever. There's two different ways, so that people have a sense of like what I'm doing over here, without having to just like click play on like a 2-hour plus video. But also trying to pull out and make shareable like shorts and stuff that I can upload elsewhere. Yeah, what was funny was how the more people saw, the 80-20 played out, right? Because like certainly if I give people advice like, don't put anything too awesome or epic in your backstory, save that to happen at the table. And if I say that, I don't expect really any pushback. Like the 80-20 rule is like, hey, 80% of the time, this is basically the truth. And throughout the day, that played out. Once more people were seeing the post and responding to it, like that evened out. But that initial response was almost all negative. And it was funny because the justifications were like, I think probably for DMs like you and me, like all of their justifications were like nightmares. Like, oh, these would be terrible players at a table. They were like, you're presupposing that a character needs to change throughout the course of a game. My character can be set. You know, you're too short-sighted about the way a game can be. The game can just be what it is, and my character is, you know, and it's like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess so, but is that generally what people are looking for from this game, or are you kind of an outlier if you're playing a game that's like, you know, just like a Funhouse dungeon or something where you're not actually? It's like most people are trying to make characters that like experience some shit and like go through some, you know, some development. So yeah, I know that there's some subreddits in the past that I've sort of flagged as like, okay, I need to be careful around that one because they tend to be pretty harsh on like new ideas. But yeah, the D&D one now is on my list. So you stopped watching your VOD after the first couple months. I mean, it's probably really helpful initially for people to get a sense of like, okay, this is what I sound like. This is how I can adjust how I communicate, or like this thing that I'm doing wrong. Like, it's probably a really helpful tool for a lot of people to do that, to watch through.